Prime Minister Modi visited 7 countries in first 100 days. India led efforts, sent aid to Nepal, Kuwait, Ukraine and Mali, pushes strategic influence across the globe. Prime Minister Modi held bilateral talks with a whole host of countries, Russia, Ukraine and the US, focused on Neighborhood Act East policy, and also hosted important leaders from Vietnam and Singapore, participated in G7. External Affairs Minister also engaged in Quad Foreign Ministers meeting, SCO, ASEAN and India meetings. So there you can see some of those very important. If you have graphics, let's play out some of those graphics about the frameworks that India has signed in the last 100 days and also hosted the 3rd Voice of Global South Summit. All right, shifting focus now to the first big story that we are tracking on the show and that we will take a deep dive on, which is that whether or not SAARC can be revived. Bangladesh and Pakistan have pushed to revive SAARC, which is the South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation. This comes amidst a push by Pakistan and Bangladesh. The Prime Minister of Pakistan met along with Mohammad Yunus at the sidelines of the UNGA, making a pitch for this initiative to come back to life after a decade of being inactive. The last time the meeting was scheduled was in 2016, was cancelled after Uri attack. Pathankot attack also took place in 2016 itself, because of which it got cancelled. 2014 is when the last SAARC meeting took place in Nepal. Let's quickly get in our guests this evening, which is Dr. Constantino Xavier, who's a senior fellow for Center for Social and Economic Progress, Ambassador Anil Trigunath, former diplomat as well on the broadcast. In fact, Ambassador Trigunath, let me start with you, sir. As things stand right now, SAARC is essentially India is essentially the backbone of SAARC. It is the largest economy there. It keeps the whole association glued. And at this stage, if India is giving a cold shoulder to the regional grouping, what are its chances?
Well, let me tell you that India remains committed to SAARC. But at the same time, when the summit was to be held in Pakistan, the main reason was that Pakistan was continuing and is continuing to have cross-border terrorism as an instrument of its foreign policy. And you also mentioned about several attacks that took place, and there is no accountability from Pakistan to that extent. And that's the reason our relationship with Pakistan the way it is. And therefore, India tried to focus on sub-regional cooperation, whether it is a grouping called BBIN with Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal, or the BIMSTEC, Bay of Bengal initiative, combining India's neighborhood first and the Act East policy. In addition, I would like to say that India's commitment to SAARC continues every year. In our budget, external affairs, as you can check, several projects are being funded, and a separate budget is allocated for the SAARC Secretariat and SAARC activities. So India does participate in various official level meetings, various different groupings. It's not that we are not. But at the same time, you have to call out an errant behavior of a nation that refuses too much. Now, today in Bangladesh, why Bangladesh is taking so much interest? It is not only Mr. Yunus. The previous Bangladeshi leaders also, including Sheikh Hasina, were also very keen on organizing it, because the SAARC, in fact, started in Bangladesh by Ziaur Rahman. And therefore, they are obviously very keen on this. Nepal has the SAARC Secretariat. So this is one organization in which most of these countries want to continue participating. But like, for example, we signed the SAARC.
I have two questions. I'll come back and ask you that. Let's give in Dr. Xavier as well a chance to come in, which is that India wants the SAARC to be revived, but it's also very clear that it cannot happen till the time issues fundamental to its national security are not addressed, as Ambassador Trigunath pointed out in great detail. But the question, Dr. Xavier, is what is now the chance of this grouping to come back to life in the wake of India's very clear stance related to national security? Where do you see these overtures between Shahbaz Sharif and Mohammad Yunus really going or leading to anything?
Thank you, Gaurie. I don't want to say 0%, but close to it. Very, very low chances of being revived. And as Ambassador Triguna had mentioned, this is a bit of a drama playing out. Professor Yunus from Bangladesh is, of course, trying to revive SAARC. It's important for Bangladesh. It's important for every country, in fact, for India too. But what he's also trying to do is create a pressure point on India. We'll see India-Bangladesh playing out different relationship over the next few months. So I think what he's trying to signal is also maybe that there is something that he would like to see and that India will have to compensate him for in some way. So it's a pressure point from Bangladesh. From Nepal, the request for a foreign ministers meeting in New York that India declined, a SAARC foreign ministers meeting, is an annual demand that the Nepalis have been doing. They host the Secretariat of SAARC in Kathmandu. It is part of their obligation to at least make the pretense that it's required to revive and urgent to revive SAARC. But most importantly, at the heart of this is that if you look back at 2014, when Prime Minister Modi said very clearly that a prosperous South Asia depends on a secure South Asia, that is where there are doubts about to what point Pakistan is engaged in that. In fact, to what extent Pakistan is committed to South Asian security and not hurting Indian interests. And therefore, unless that changes, there's no reason for India to change its view.
In fact, Pakistan did not ratify the SAARC Convention on Mutual Assistance on Criminal Matters. It blocked the establishment of the SAARC Terrorist Offences Monitoring Desk as well as the SAARC Drug Offences Monitoring Desk. So at one level, it is very aspirational that the entire region should be connected by road, rail, and there should be free movement of people, goods, and so on and so forth. But fundamental issues, whether it is about collaboration on terrorism, whether it's about collaboration on some of these drug offenses, that is something where Pakistan really doesn't walk the talk. So where does that leave Pakistan in the wake of some of these other member nations apart from India? Dr. Xavier, and then I get an Ambassador Trigunath.
I mean, why should it surprise us that Pakistan is not committed and interested in SAARC for the substance that you mentioned, economic, trade relations, connectivity, when they blocked all those agreements and other ones in 2014. In fact, Prime Minister Modi went in with that attempt in 2014 to work with Pakistan. If you read his 2014 speech in Kathmandu, his visit to Pakistan, in fact. So he tried that outreach. And when someone is not working with you, not interested, because Pakistan has many other partners it has chosen, China, the Gulf states, Afghanistan, these are all places that matter much more to Pakistani economic interests. And it's not looking very good for Pakistan. But then why should it surprise us that Pakistan also shouldn't be totally committed and excited about SAARC, except to make some annual noise and saying revive it, without any intent of committing words into deeds of actual regional cooperation and economic integration.
Between Pakistan and former East Pakistan. That's essentially what this is, posturing in an effort to try and tell India that there is possibility of collaboration, whether it is on security matters, whether it's on economic matters, there is collaboration that could take place. Is that how you read it, or do you think there's more to it? And do you agree with what Dr. Xavier is saying?
Well, I agree with Dr. Xavier totally in this. I don't think that we need to go extra mile to go and woo the Pakistanis, even at the SAARC summit if it happens. At the same time, it will also matter a great deal going forward how Mr. Yunus behaves as far as India is concerned. So far as the statements have not been very kind to India, and therefore they are going to be the host that they are looking at possibly. And so if that happens, then obviously this is going to be a bit of a problem for India. But at the same time, we'll have to continue to talk. They have denied or rather defied anything that has come from India. Even the SAARC satellite, that was for everybody's good. Pakistan opted out of it. You saw during the pandemic, India tried to help. And the SAARC fund that was created, we paid money. One of the junior ministers participated when Prime Minister Modi spoke to all the heads of states. So Pakistan has its own viewpoint. It is supported by China. It is continuing to be a challenge for us. But we know how to live with this challenge, how to counter it. And therefore, I don't see any major move in this regard.
Yes. And before I come to the fact and ask both of you this, that what are really the odds of a SAARC summit ever happening in the backdrop of what is taking place in the region, I must point to our viewers as well. Between Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan and Sri Lanka, the number of countries that are practically waiting for the next round of the IMF bailout, that is Sri Lanka, there is Maldives, there is Pakistan, and of course Bangladesh is getting different kinds of aid, not IMF bailout right now, but it is also right now seeking $8 billion of multilateral aid. So that is the backdrop of the economic engagements that SAARC offers to India. Again, not negating the prospects of greater cooperation, but this is also the backdrop of the economic scenario in the region. But then let me ask you this, Dr. Xavier, what are the odds of a summit ever happening apart from these overtures? But do you think New Delhi reconsidering it? Do you see any possibility of maybe a SAARC excluding Pakistan to ever take shape? Do you see any of that, or do you think the summit and the organization with 10 years has pretty much outlived its utility?
Yeah, 10 years in the freezer are a challenge. It's not easy to take these things and reactivate them quickly. But 2 points. One is we have to understand India's position, whether reasonable, unreasonable is up for debate. You speak to Nepalis and Sri Lankans, they think it's unreasonable. They want India to revive SAARC and not put it into keep it in the freezer because of its relations with Pakistan. But this is part of a larger strategy to deal with Pakistan. The same reason that is taking India to ask for revision of the Indus Water Treaty is the same reason why India is also not interested in reviving SAARC. This is going to be a quid pro quo relation that India is trying to re-establish with Pakistan. It's been in the making for several years now, with risks, obviously, but it's an attempt to reshape Pakistani's behavior in the region. So unless that changes, and we have actually a Delhi-Islamabad summit of political leaders, we will not see a SAARC summit with all 8 regional leaders. The second point is that while that remains in the freezer, I think it's very important for India to also develop alternatives. Ambassador Tribhunan mentioned BIMSTEC, but it's important precisely because India is the backbone and the major asymmetric power in this region, that it develops alternatives to SAARC. So that is work in the making through BIMSTEC, to triangular, quadrilateral initiatives.
Okay.
It puts the ball in Delhi's court to also deliver, maybe not through SAARC, but through alternative regional cooperation instruments, what the neighbors need and require, including economic assistance, as you just mentioned.
Ambassador Tribhunan, do you think it's incumbent on New Delhi to ensure that some of the other avenues of regional cooperation succeed, and it will have to go the extra mile, given that the other neighbors are much smaller in comparison in all aspects?
Gaurie, you know that the neighbors are a gift of geography, but can be the pains of history. And we have to support them. We have to work with them. You cannot. If you want to be a major power, you have to take care of your regional friends. You have to create friendships that are respectful. Today, the situation might appear they have become far more smarter. They're trying to balance out India and China. They try to have their own independence. That's okay. Strategic autonomy is everybody's right. But at the same time, you have to settle your neighborhood before you can project your power outside. So it's very important. And I think that in that context, India will do everything. And you have seen what's happening with Maldives, in Afghanistan, everywhere, they are coming back to India, where they understand that India is one country that is helping them out.
Right.
As far as Pakistan is a unique case, and it has to be handled in a very separate manner.
Shifting focus now to the latest as far as the Tory leadership is concerned, where visas to Indians is now at the heart of who will be the next leader of the Conservative Party in the UK. Remember, Rishi Sunak has resigned as the leader of the Conservative Party in the UK following the defeat that his party faced, and in the wake of that there is now a leadership contest, and one of the major issues on which this is set to be decided in how visas need to be given, or whether or not there should be fresh restrictions that should be imposed on Indians. The reason for that, they feel, is that enough hasn't been done from New Delhi, given the fact that there is a treaty between the two countries deciding on formal movement of people between India and UK. Now, how does this pan out? How serious is this? And what does it mean in terms of Indians looking to seek work and student visas in the UK. We have Professor Yukteswar Kumar, who's a former Deputy Mayor, joining us from the UK. Professor Kumar, thank you so much for taking out the time and speaking to India Global. I want to ask you this. It seems that the visa program that has been extended to India, the immigration that is taking place and migration that is being taken place is now one of the major issues for the Conservative Party contest that's taking place?
Well, it is not only the major issue for the Conservative Party only. This is a major issue for most of the European, West European, American and Australian countries.
No, are you saying visas in general, or are you saying about India? Because I'm asking you about India, and that really is what my understanding of the situation here is.
Well, it is not only about India, it is for every country. So any country's immigration policy cannot be targeted towards one country only. So every major countries, G8 countries in the world, or particularly Western countries and in Europe. So what I was talking about is not only the immigration issue is not only a problem or issue for Conservative Party or Robert Jenrick or Tom or Priti Patel. It is also but for Sir Keir Starmer or for Reform Party or for Liberal Democrats. It's a major issue, and unfortunately in every country, the Western countries, they are facing...
Professor Kumar, I want to stop you there simply because I don't want to generalize. I don't want to talk in motherhood statements. I want to ask about the fact that two of the candidates in the leadership contest have targeted, specified, spoken only of India. And I want to understand from you, how serious is this discussion? How significant is this entire narrative that is happening right now?
Well, because these two candidates, they want to instigate the members of the party, and they want to become the next leader, and they want to become Conservative Party leader and then Prime Minister after 4 years. So they might be saying that. But the fact of the issue is that because of the heavy migration, both legal and illegal, denizens in the UK, they are worried. It's not really about India, in my opinion. When you're asking about targeted answer, I'm answering exactly. It's not only about India. It's also about China or about other immigrants coming, let's say, from Bangladesh, Pakistan, and other countries as well. India is a major country, and in most of the places now, whether it is university or hospitals, Indians are doing much, much better compared to other diasporas from other countries. So, obviously, UK would like to restrict immigrants, but they will never restrict those who are capable, those who are like, let's say, Rishi Sunak, who became the Prime Minister. He is also from Indian origin.
Rishi Sunak is also Rishi Sunak is a wrong comparison, sir. Not only his entire family has been in the UK, he's also extremely wealthy, and I don't think that's a correct example in terms of the immigrants and the issues around which that we are having this discussion.
No,
but I want to ask you two questions, sir.
Two
questions.
Last thing. Okay, please, go ahead.
Two questions I want to ask. That it is happening right now at a time when illegal immigration, legal immigration is a major issue around the world. You're right about that. It's more so in Western Europe as well. The one question that I haven't been able to find an answer to is, why specify India? Because some of the other countries have also had very large share of illegal immigrants coming to UK. But why the specific focus and targeting of India? That's my question. And the ramification it has for the Indians who want to go there legally, through the student route, through the work route, and even the spouse route.
Well, that might be the personal belief of a couple of candidates which you're talking about. I have met Robert Jenrick just 2 weeks ago, and I had a discussion with him. He is not against those. I'm not talking about Rishi Sunak. He's very wealthy, and his parents came. I'm only talking about those who are earning 38,000 pounds. They are more than welcome if they can find a job in the UK and they can contribute to the economy and society. So there's no problem for those. India does not also sense illegal immigrants. So the real mood, I can tell you, frankly, Robert Jenrick, I had a very good discussion about all those kind of things. He might be recently, because the party conference is going on, and says that, because Indians are about 1.4% of the total population, and in the contest to become the leader, he might have said something about tougher visa restrictions to get the support and vote of Conservative Party members, because after a few days, the two of them will remain, and the party members, they will decide who is going to be the leader. I do not think that those who are capable, those who are studious, and they can contribute to the global economy or British economy, or bring values to the British society, they will be debarred. No way. And Indians are doing very, very good in the UK, I can tell you.
All right, Professor Kumar, let's leave it there. All I can say on this issue is it's never a one-way street. When Indians go to the UK, they contribute to the UK economy. They are skilled. They contribute to the skilled worker set in the UK and its economy. So it's never a one-way street. It's always a two-way, mutually beneficial relationship. Thank you so much, Professor Kumar, for taking out the time speaking to India Global.
Thank you.
All right, staying with more news coming in from region. 200 people have learned to be killed in the latest update coming in from the floods and landslides that have taken place in Nepal. India has issued helpline numbers for those who are stranded in these floods, and an advisory has also been issued for Indian nationals in Nepal. What you can see on your screens are some very devastating visuals and heartbreaking for the kind of floods and landslides that the Himalayan country is facing right now. The Indian embassy in Nepal is also evacuating several Indian citizens who are stranded amidst these extraordinary climate catastrophe that we are seeing. All right, with that, it's a wrap. Thanks so much for watching this edition of India Global. Thank you.